Alright everyone, now it's time to talk about Manchin's strategic genius. I did allude to this the other day during the two-part live stream. Yeah, sorry about that. Hopefully today we'll be able to go uninterrupted. Unfortunately, his genius is self-serving and will cause the economy to suffer more problems. Not in the immediate sense, but certainly after the midterms. And that's really the sum and substance of why this is happening. So you'll remember the Build Back bullshit deal many moons ago, getting stopped by Joe Manchin. And at the time, the excuse for not wanting to support it was, well, I can't support it. It's too much spending. We need to parse a lot of this out. So you got the infrastructure bill, but you didn't end up with the much larger bloat of the Green New Spiel and some of the pork barrel spending there. It got cut out in order to gain Manchin's support, leading to a situation in which the former Gang of Four, aka the Geek Squad in the House, AOC, Ilhan Omar, and so forth, actually voted against it, while some Republicans voted for the deal, which was completely stupid. And at the time, it was basically, the rest of it was tabled. And Schumer was a sourpuss about this, pretending that he actually gave a shit about the U.S. economy. Now remember, Manchin's reasoning for not voting for that much larger budgetary bloat was that it would effectively wreck the economy. We have high inflation, and now is not the time to spend hundreds of billions of dollars more. We're going to stick to the core infrastructure bill, which is already bad enough. It's already causing inflation. It's already going to be pork barrel horse shit. It's shovel-ready 2.0. It's not actually going to lower the deficit long-term. We've heard that about bill after fucking bill for decades now. It never actually works. What Manchin appeared to have wanted to do is to pass it anyway. But he wanted to wait so that the inflation from that massive spending would show up after the midterm elections. And this is what separates Joe Manchin and makes him more dangerous in some cases, or a useful idiot at times, from the AOC crowd. They thought, just pass it. Give us 10 trillion billion gazillion dollars right now. Fuck the inflation rate. Yeah, it'll wreck the entire lower class. We'll just give them welfare. We'll give them bread lines and stuff, and that'll be even better because then they'll be more reliant on us in the future and they'll vote leftoid. Manchin understands that would not be a good idea to do because then you would lose so much popularity, you'd all lose your fucking jobs. So he managed to do what I blogged about, fucking God, it must have been last year, which is he saved the Democrats from themselves, from imploding and committing suicide by simply skidding it ahead and doing secret negotiations with Schumer. I'm sure that he gets quite a bit on the side for himself and for his constituents out of this. And then he gets to vote for it, put it through reconciliation to get it passed, potentially. We're still not sure that the votes are there in the Senate, but we'll see what happens, what form it takes. It has to be debated over longer. And he's doing it at such a time that if it follows the typical 6-month trajectory of inflation showing up after you overload the economy, well, it'll show up right after the midterms. Now, isn't that really something? This is, by the way, totally coincidental, and Manchin totally didn't know what the fuck he was doing. The people of West Virginia should be a little bit miffed at this, because this is not what they voted for him to do. Quite clearly, that particular constituency, I can't imagine is on board with Build Back bullshit for the Green New Spiel, but you're probably going to get it anyway. What this will do is cause a marginal increase in inflation. If we look at the rise in inflation over the last year or so, and then correlate it to the different spending bills, I would expect it to add an extra point or so to inflation. Well, that's not good. I thought that Joe Manchin voted against the bill initially because inflation was too high. What was inflation back then? 5%? We're approaching 10%. So Joe Manchin was lying, effectively. He was lying for strategic purposes. He's one of the few Democrats that's intelligent enough to do this. Unlike the average Democrat that gets given an inch and takes a mile, or tries to and then dies trying, Joe Manchin sat back and said, now is not the time for this. There will be a time, but not right now. Very, very interesting. Unfortunately, this Manchin-Schumer ploy will harm the U.S. economy, causing more damage. Now, it still shows up before the 24 election, so maybe it doesn't harm you during the midterms, but shit, you just got a recession declared. There's no reason to believe inflation will tick down again next month. As far as the current month's numbers, joblessness is probably going to start rising before the midterms. Everything else has gone to hell. I'm not sure why Joe Manchin even cared, to tell the truth. He could have just given a reluctant vote and voted present or something like that, said, okay, well, fucking let it pass, and then explain to the people of West Virginia, look, I was not really on board with the size of this bill, but they kept champing at the bit. Let them fuck the economy because it's already fucked under Joe Biden. In fact, Manchin could have used that as a prelude to running for the presidency. He's on the short list, by the way, in my opinion, for people that could jump into the 24 race in Biden's absence. He'd probably end up getting the nomination. Don't see any other Democrats really capable of standing up against him unless they bring ageism to the table. And then, of course, maybe Trump doesn't run. What if the opponent's 50 years old or something? He's a genius strategically. It's sort of looking like at Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell is not a good person. He's corrupt. He never faced too many questions over his yacht being full of coke that time, by the way. Notice that the justice system doesn't really work at the top level of society. He's Turtle Man. He's a boring neocon. Very pro-war, very pro-corporate welfare. Doesn't really care about any populist messaging. He waffles around constantly. But he's very, very good strategically. He knows all the Senate rules. He's very good at wielding them when he has any mandate to do so whatsoever. He's repeatedly thwarted Democrats at numerous angles. Was extremely good under Trump. The one great thing about McConnell is that he effectively fast-tracked all of Trump's judicial appointees. If he accomplished anything in his long, ignominious career, that's basically the sum and substance of what he accomplished that was actually good for the country. Manchin is basically similar to a Mitch McConnell. Maybe they'll shove Schumer out, put Manchin in as a Senate leader at some point. The Democrats, by the way, officially favored to keep the Senate, probably by a 50-50 split, which isn't great, but if they lose the House, of course, you can't use the reconciliation mumbo-jumbo in order to pass anything. All you get is judicial appointments and not necessarily Supreme Court appointees. My hope is that doesn't happen, but officially favored at this time. There will be more suffering. You will continue to suffer until you enjoy it. Eat the bugs. That's about all. Peace out.